So, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been asking for my Wraith decks, and I am going to give them to you. I guess I didn't do a theory crafting deck on his release. I was trying to do something different with the new videos that I'm trying to make. Now, with that said, I think I'm going to make up for myself with 3 decks in one video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a hero deck guide. I am Sylphin. We aren't necessarily touching on how to play Wraith, as that will come in a video next week. So guys, what are these 3 decks that I have been using on Wraith these past couple of days? Now, to be honest with you, I've played probably somewhere like 15 games with Wraith so far, trying out all of my 3 different decks, and I've really gravitated towards this one that you are seeing on your screen right now, called Solid Snake. This is my DPS deck. It's not burst and it's not crit. It is a nice combination of the two. I have made a nice 2-to-1 ratio of power to attack speed in light of my findings with Stinger Boost, etc., etc. So this is the deck I would recommend personally. I found the most success, especially in the late game. Especially, he's really kind of caught off. Of course, as of today, he has been buffed. They buffed him just earlier today, increasing the damage on his knock-knock ability and increasing his health. Both things that I really like, and I think all of these decks will be helped from it. And all of the math and conclusions I have drawn so far, by the way, hasn't changed. All the conclusions are still the same. You still build him 2-to-1, and at least in my recommendation. Stinger Boost is fantastic on him. Tainted Magic, which is coming out tomorrow, is fantastic, and a whole bunch of other things. So, with all that said, let's get into the deck, shall we? Now, this is my Solid Snake deck. You guys can look it up, link in the video description. And this is what I think is going to be meta for him personally. You have your Dummy Ward and the Guardian's Ward, and the starting items I found in the Mana Potion works really well as if you're having issues with sustain in lane, just back up, snipe away, and that's it. You don't have to take damage. You just back up and use your snipe. So the health potion, not necessary for me as a starting item. The early game, I have found that by the time you get your Sage's Ward, that's actually a really good amount of power. It kind of helps out. Then you can go into your Empyrean Mask. Wonderful card that you can leave on damage for an engagement. And once the engagement's done, just switch it to mana regen. Regen that mana, and it's just a fantastic card. Mana regen goes a long way, and you can actually harass somebody in lane quite a bit with that extra mana regen. Very valuable, and definitely worth it in my opinion. After that, you go for your Whirling Wand with some attack speed. Wraith feels really good. That attack speed really feels excellent when you are engaging in those, you know, just in general. So that is my early game. Finishing it off with a Stinger Boost. Yep, a Stinger Boost this early in the game, because the math supports it. It basically pays for itself, even if you have no power whatsoever. And that actually really helps his burst. A Sonar Ward into your first empowered basic attack, into a snipe, into another basic attack, into another basic attack, into a knock, into another empowered basic. It feels fantastic. Even in the early game, it definitely does pay off. Besides the fact you already have some power on the deck. In the mid game, you go into another Whirling Wand right here, into another Whirling Wand, and you can get the Stasis Gem whenever you need. The power is definitely enough, and especially with this buff, it will feel really good, and that attack speed will only help his overall damage output. Stasis Gem, I have found to be better than a Teleblink, to be honest with you. You know, Wraith can get around the map nicely. He can chase people down, and he can usually secure kills with his back it up. So I don't know. The Stasis Gem in crisis situations, you can use to great effect. So that's why I like the Stasis Gem over the Teleblink, even though it is an option in this deck. In the late game, you get one 12-point Whirling Wand before you go into Tainted Magic and Hydroverser. You have to get Tainted Magic when the enemy heroes are like a level 11 plus, just because of their base health. And you have to get Hydroverser when you yourself are at least level 12. He doesn't have the biggest mana, well, he's normal mana pool, but because you don't build mana, you gotta wait till you're at least hero level 12, which is a fair bit. So after that, guys, you just upgrade Tainted Magic, save those upgrades for last in order for you to finish off your second 12-point Whirling Wand, and that is the deck. Absolutely fantastic. Man, the Tainted Magic provides tremendous poke and reliable damage. That is something you have to consider a ton. While the Stinger Boost, again, Sonar Ward on your flank to protect you into a power basic attack, into a knock, into another power, into another power basic attack, into another basic attack, into a back it up, into another basic attack. Like, it's just, the boost from Stinger Boost is really, really solid. Now, some situational items here. The Chronotonic, his level 1 ult is really long. Keep Chronotonic, get Chronotonic, and keep it till you can upgrade your ult to level 2. The health potion is just there if you need that help. Another healer token, say if you want to take him in the off lane. This is my mid lane deck for him. And of course that Teleblink, even if you want it. And you know what? You can keep it instead of the Stasis Gem, and it'll be fine. You know, 1 CP, whoop-de-doo, straight it out for later, if you so like it. Now, this next deck here is my second most recommended, and that is my burst deck for Wraith. This is all power, so you're just one hard-hitting sniper. So this is called the M82 Gigantic Anti-Material, Anti-Vehicle Sniper Rifle, if you guys know what I mean. So of course the Archmagus as your prime card. In the early game, much the same, pretty much entirely the same, except you trade out a Whirling Wand here for an Adamant Edge. You still get your mana potion, healer token. You still have your dummy ward, Sage's ward into Empyrean Mask. It's pretty much the same. The Stinger Boost is the same. It's just that Whirling Wand gets transferred out for an Adamant Edge. 1 CP of health, hey, definitely not going to hurt on Wraith. In the mid game, now you start changing it up a bit more. You get the Stasis Gem, just like my other deck, but instead of 2 more Whirling Wands, you get an Adamant Edge and a Chronomancer Disc. You might be like, well, Chronomancer Disc, that's like cooldown reduction, might be more sustained focus. No, because you are putting so much value on your knock ability, and you know, the animation cancel with the knock, and the fact that will proc Stinger Boost more often. That Chronomancer Disc actually just makes your burst happen more often, and I actually really like that. I really like the idea. You know, for the 5 CP that you spend for it, I think it goes a really long way, because you also have to consider that the rest of his abilities can really help out your team. His ultimate, of course, your back it up can, of course, you know, secure kills and secure peels, stuff like that. Very, very effective. I really, really like it. In the late game, you simply just get rid of those Adamant Edges, get in a Hydroverser for some insane power spike, and a Tainted Magic. The Tainted Magic will only help your poke just deal more ridiculous damage. You know, you're just gonna be like, you're gonna hit somebody for like 500-600, and then Tainted Magic will just take hundreds more. So tremendous value there, and that is the deck here. Some optional items. They got their health potion again if you're having issues in lane. Another healer token if you're having issues in lane. A Chronotonic to help with that long cooldown of his ultimate, and just help with other abilities as well. Guardian's Ward for your dummy ward. Teleblink if you just prefer it, or if you think you know, it's better. Another Adamant Edge just in that early game if you if you have some more space and don't necessarily need the stasis gem so quickly, you can go straight into the Adamant Edge, or you can use it as a transition card for your Chronomancer disc. That's pretty much the Burst deck. I personally found Burst Wraith to be a great amount of, like, your Knock Knock is fantastic, and then nothing else. It was a letdown. Once you finished with everything else, it was kind of a letdown. You weren't dealing enough damage in between there to really kind of do very much. I very quickly appreciated the attack speed on Wraith, as his basic attack still hits pretty good. And between, you know, a Knock Knock into some basic attacks, into a Back It Up, into another couple basic attacks, into final Knock Knock, those basic attacks in there need value, and you need more of them. And I think that the Burst deck just didn't get that. I don't think that his buff today as well, that increased his Knock Knock ability, will change that. It really didn't. It increased a nice amount, but not enough for the Burst to all of a sudden become viable. But here's the deck nonetheless, and I hope you enjoy. And finally, last but not least, here is my 100% crit deck. Yup, I made one. If you guys want to use it, go ahead. I just found that transitioning from no crit into crit, that transition point, was really, really hard. It's a real struggle, and I think you just need to have a smooth, you need to have a smooth power spike the whole way. And while I do try to smooth it out as much as possible, not all, from going with a good amount of, you know, with some attack speed to no attack speed because of the way that the crit transition works, it's painful. It hurts. And you guys can try it. You guys can try it. You guys can really try it. I just felt like there wasn't enough power feeding into his Knock Knock to really kind of be much of a poke ability, and then you just couldn't do enough. I don't know. You just couldn't do enough, I found. Yeah, of course, at 60 CP it's going to be great, but getting there, I found issues in my couple games that I played with it. And tweaked it. So, of course, the Warlord, that is simply what increases your DPS the most. Starting items, Mana Potion and Healer token, just like before. Sage's Ward into your Empyrean Mask, just like before, except now we're going into 2 Wind Carver Blades with some more kinetic, just so that you're really focused on that DPS. In the mid game, you go into, after that, into a Hemorrhage, and then into a Stasis Gem, because it's just fantastic. Like in the other decks, the Hemorrhage is where you're going to get some burst of attack speed, and is the source of your lifesteal, which is just going to help you just kind of have sustain, since you're going to be doing so much basic damage. After that, you have to get rid of a few cards here in order to get into the transition. You need to get rid of your Empyrean Mask, your 2 Wind Carver Blades, and have, what is that, 5 more CP on top of that to transition into 1 Spear of the Rift Hunter and 1 Blade of Agora. That is the transition into crit that minimizes the DPS hit the most, while still keeping that Stasis Gem. Of course, you can not have it, you can have it, it's really up to you. After that, you finish off your crit for that reliable damage output, and then you finish it off with a Hydroverser probably at that point, because you're at probably at a high enough hero level, and then an upgraded Sage's Ward for the power that you need. Because of his poor power scaling, with a crit deck, you don't need much power. In the DPS department, you really don't need much power, to be honest with you. So what I still have done, though, is I have gotten rid of most of the attack speed and gone and just relied on that Hemorrhage. So you are still a bursty hero. Again, that Knock Knock into a couple base attacks, into a back it up, etc. That whole 6 to 8 second burst is still going to hurt really hard, and Hemorrhage fits nicely into that. That's my crit deck, guys. The optional items, looks like I forgot those. My apologies. Let's see if they're here in the side. No, there aren't. There are no optional cards. That's right, just because this takes up a lot of equipment slots. That's my crit, 100% crit deck, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I've played quite a few games with Wraith. He's kind of frustrating. He's kind of not. Maybe my frustrations were evidence of why Epic actually buffed him recently. Just earlier today, in fact. So maybe I'm going to have to, on Monday or Tuesday, play a few more games with him. Test out these decks, see how he feels. He should hopefully feel a little bit better. But I'm still really thinking that a DPS deck, my Solid Snake build for him, is simply the best. A good amount of attack speed feels really good on him. His basic attacks hit well. If you're accurate, he just feels awesome. So thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of all of these 3 decks. Which ones will you have again, or which ones will you try out again? The links are in the video description down below. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, and of course, guys, subscribe. If you guys like this content, especially if you found it useful, please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. If you would like to support me and what I do on a regular basis, please consider going over to my Patreon account where you can make a monthly pledge to support what I do and reap some pretty good rewards. Till next time, like always, guys, stay optimistic and positive.